Hello and welcome to Around the World in 80 Teas, the first few stops. My name is Sharon Hall and I'm the Chief Executive of the UK Tea and Infusions Association. And today we're going to be talking about Russian Caravan tea with my co-hosts Will Battle and our guests Ian Gibbs and Ramaz Shanturia. Will Battle has 25 years experience in the tea industry and he's also the author of the World Tea Encyclopedia. Ian Gibbs is chair of the International Tea Committee. This was founded in 1933 and has been providing the industry with valuable statistics for over 80 years. And welcome to Ramaz Shanturia, who's the head of Rus Tea Coffee, a non-profit tea trade association that represents all of the largest tea companies in both Russia and the CIS countries. Ramaz, Ian, and Will, welcome to the podcast. I'm going to hand straight over to Will to start today's conversation.
Thanks, Sharon. So, Ramaz, today we're talking about Russian caravan teas, and we're going to talk about the Russian tea drinking habit later on as well. I've got my cup of Russian caravan blend here. I don't even need to taste it to detect a slightly smoky character. Do you think you can give me some of the background? Why does my tea taste like that?
We need to try to look on this history from the beginning, when the caravans or the Silk Road, which was more maybe known as a Silk Road. It started many centuries ago and was from China to Europe, and this trade road connect European countries and China. The people who use in that time use the animals for transportation of goods. Of course, it takes a lot of time, and the people make stops, make a fire to have a, I don't know, to prepare the foods and even drink maybe some teas. So these smell which is produced that time, of course it's somehow connect with tea and it's become a typical aroma of the teas which is coming through such a way. And what I want to say about the meaning of Russian caravan, when it's not used in Russia. If you ask people here, I think maybe 1% will tell you what it is, but not more. Despite the fact that it is not maybe typical Russian preferences, it's really very unique type of teas, unique aroma, and I like it very much. If I have the chance to taste it or buy somewhere, I always order in some tea rooms. I always order these type of teas if it is in a list. So this is really very, very interesting experience for the people who like teas.
Ramaz, what sort of teas would originally have been sent to Russia? What would have been the earliest teas that would have gone on that route?
You mean in the past?
Yes.
I think it was the two type of teas, of course, when it was presented to Russians. I think it was green tea, the typical green tea, and some red tea, as we know from China. We're saying black teas, but fermented teas. But I want to also highlight that the very interesting thing is that the first, when the tea comes 400, 300 years ago, it was, I think, green tea and red tea, maybe like this at the moment, but mainly green tea, because China is the famous green tea producer, and green tea was all time always a main product for Chinese people. But if we look on the present time, we just have a very controversial situation. The 90% of people at the moment, and 50, 60 years, we're drinking mainly black teas, 90% of the people. Only 10% we have green teas, and it's just, I think, coming as a, as I think for the people who like to think about their health, and it's like a fashion things which is connected with green tea, but the taste of green tea is not very popular at the moment. The people generally following black tea, and it's a main product at the moment.
Going back to the character of the tea, one of the things, I did some research into pu'er teas, and one of the things that I remember reading is that the journey itself has lent to the development of the tea that was being carried by, I think in this case, pack horses. But also the horse itself had given its own sort of unique character to the tea just because of the warmth of the flanks of the horse, and sometimes perhaps the smell of the horse. I've been lucky enough to have been near a camel a couple of times on holiday, but they've got a smell of their own, camels, don't they? So do you think the camel itself would have given some of its own unique aroma to the tea in those days?
Perhaps. I don't know exactly, of course. It's too difficult because to say exactly, because as I said, the tea absorbs any aromas, any very, very maybe smell is not so strong, but it is coming to tea and mixed with other aromas. Of course, if the people open, for example, the boxes, or it is not packed well, or it is not, somehow has a damage on the package. Of course, some of these aromas also coming, but it's not only the camel or horses aroma. It's also the aromas which is we have, for example, when you're traveling in the the flowers smell also is coming. So this is, I think, any teas, if you going together with these teas somewhere, and it is possible to open the box or give teas a chance to absorb some aromas, it will create a new character of the beverage.
I think you've really picked up very effectively on the tea's great risk, but it's also its great virtue in this case, isn't it? The ability to take on flavors from elsewhere, because I think that's one of the things which makes tea so exciting as a product, given that you can have a vast flavor wheel of different tastes, and whether or not it's the slightly earthy tastes of camels or smoke, or on the other side, the floral tastes of jasmine, which come from the jasmine scenting process, but they're the other side of the same coin, aren't they? It's just tea's amazing ability to take on flavors of anything it's been put near, which is really exciting.
Yes, that's true.
Ian, I wonder if it's great to hear sort of some of how the history of the Russian caravan blends have come, which Ramaz has been keen to point out is not necessarily the style that's consumed nowadays in Russia. But the world of tea's got lots of other consumption rituals. I don't know if you've got any favorites that you've uncovered in your travels as ITC chief.
No, I think that was fascinating from Ramaz. It's very interesting. And what is quite exciting about that whole tea road coming up through the Stans and through Russia into Europe, that was known as the tea road and was called One Li Cha, which means 10,000 miles tea road. And further south to that is the tea horse road, which is the Cha Ma Gu Dao, which ended up in Tibet. And there, of course, as opposed to the smoke affecting the teas, they latched on to the sort of link with animals. And when they drink their tea in Tibet, they drink it with yak butter and salt. So you've got two contrasts there, with the smoke up north because of the smoke fires. And despite the proximity of the animals, the Tibetans seem to prefer that aspect to it. So they've developed their own customs. And apparently, I've never been to Tibet, but apparently if you do get entertained and received by them, welcomed by them, they will make sure that the tea that they give you, which will be this wonderful black tea with yak butter and salt, you're never allowed to finish, keep filling up. So if you don't like it, you're really got a problem. But there are many ceremonies and tea rituals around the world. And it's interesting, tea coming from China and Japan, they start with these two exciting rituals, which you might have already talked about on different podcasts. But the jet ceremony, I always think of as very spiritual and very sort of delicate, very intimate sort of a process. And whereas the Chinese one is also very formal, it's very it's got its own sort of process and very ceremony. It's very, very special. But what I think is crucial about all these different rituals and ceremonies is that it encourages friendship. It's a form of welcoming people into the environment that you're going into, and they show huge respect for humans, for the visitors. And then, this is very typical in Northwest Africa, for example, where they drink the attaya, which is very much tea, green tea, gunpowder tea from China. And there they mix it with mint and sugar, and they make a ceremony of it. And it's the whole ceremony, wherever you go, making tea, that sort of draws people in and makes for this great friendship and making people feel really especially welcome. And anyway, one of the things they do is they transfer the tea from the pot to the glass and back again, and keep moving it back so it becomes more and more frothy. And this apparently gives, people really like the frothiness of it, the thickness of it, of the froth. And another place where this is carried out in a different way, of course, is in Malaysia, where they have teh tarik, and they have tea mixed with condensed milk and sugar. And there, the teh tarik actually means pull tea. What you're doing there is you're mixing up the tea with the condensed milk and the water, and it's very, very sweet. And then they transfer it in a wonderfully theatrical ceremony from pot to cup and cup to cup. And they have this big competition there. And again, they're building up the froth and making it more obviously cooler, because the more transfer it, the cooler it gets. And it's quite interesting that Northwest Africa and Malaysia are two countries where you can see tea consumption expanding quite rapidly. And perhaps it's something to do with these wonderful rituals that they have and these wonderful ceremonies that make it a much more popular and exciting drink to have.
You picked up in there really well on the versatility of tea again, I think, because you've got these sort of North and West African sort of desert societies, for want of a better word, where it's really hot and there's dry often. Yet you've also got the Tibetan butter tea tradition, and they're both drinking tea, but they're sort of as different as it comes in climatical terms. But in both settings, tea works fantastically, whether or not it's the attaya mint tea with sugar or the butter tea. It's just this wonderful versatility of Camellia sinensis tea that can make it suited to a whole raft of different drinking habits.
It's a drink for every single occasion, and it's got an extraordinary sort of sort of ethos about it. It's just everything that it brings to the occasion. It really, one of the things I like to impressed when I go out talking to in China and so on. It's the whole business of it, how much it brings people together. It encourages dialogue, encourages friendship, and you know, and I like to emphasize that, you know, this is something that we need more and more than anything else. And so tea must be the drink of the future. It's also a very healthy drink, of course. So, you know, it's got everything going for it. It's wonderful. Your
point about the way that the preparation of teh tarik or of attire can take place is really interesting to me, because I remember watching the Tom Cruise movie Cocktail in the I don't know when it was, probably late 80s, but the way that sort of opened my eyes that something as simple as preparing a drink can be done in a very theatrical way that can make the enjoyment of the drink that bit more special. And watching these people prepare pulled tea in Malaysia or attaya, the Moroccan mint tea as we often know it in Europe, is equally exciting. And I think it's also great to see that in tea again, we're learning how we can creatively serve and prepare tea. And I think the Tea Masters Cup is a great example of that, which perhaps we'll come on to in a minute. But it's worth remembering that tea preparation doesn't have to be complicated, but when done really well, it can be theatre in itself, can't it?
Very much so. And of course, going back to Russia, I mean, the business of the samovar and all that as being central. It used to be, I don't know what role it plays now, but the samovar was very much a sort of central feature in many Russian families, I think.
So Ramaz, that's a great cue for you to tell us about the samovar and its place in Russian tea preparation.
It is, of course, it's one of the part of Russian traditional way of preparation. In general, there is no as such a tradition at the moment, unfortunately, because samovar gives, historically, of course, it was a very interesting way, which was maybe not created in Russia, but we take the different let me say different machines from China, from Iran, from maybe different countries where the same similar way of boiling water was used. So, but we create a very typical Russian, especially Russian machine for brewing water and made the tea for the families, because it is quite big. Let me say, how to say the space for the water, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 100, even 100 liters of water is possible to put in this samovar. And it was very popular in 1918s, 19, maybe close to 20th century, very, very popular. Every family has this, and it was like a, you know, the samovar was the must-have. You know, you must have this feature if you are your life is good. You know, you need to have such a machines. That was in historically in Russia, and every family dreams to have it if they not have before. So when the people married, it was like a part which is transferred from one generation to the next generation. It was very interesting. Now we have the samovars, many of samovars, which is electric. You know, you just put in electricity and then you boil water. But it is not giving you a very interesting taste when you're preparing from such a way. When you're preparing country house, for example, you're preparing a real samovar. When you have inside the samovar, you know, there is a space inside this area, especially when you put the wood and then put fire and then it is giving heat and then boil the water. And this smell also, going to teas. When you use, for example, different type of woods, these smells going to join the teas, and it becomes really very, very tasty. It is really interesting for the tea lovers to have such experience. And I like it when I'm going to my country house also. I'm maybe at least once in a month, I will make it to my friends, of course, when we gathering, we have such a possibility and time to enjoy it, such a way of this preparation.
Ramos, I think that's a brilliant suggestion, because it's having only tried it once, my only piece of advice to anybody else trying it the first time is to start in the garden. Having done it in the kitchen near the smoke detector of my office a few years ago, definitely do it in the garden the first time, and then enjoy the taste. It's really worth it. It's a great experience.
So Ian, International Tea Committee collects statistics about where people are growing tea and where they're exporting it to. Are they growing tea in Russia?
They are growing a little tea in Russia, but not very much. But up until the situation changed at the fall of the Soviet Union at the 1990, early 90s, because before that, in 1985, for example, Russia sort of basically imported 96 million kilos of tea, but produced 152 million kilos of tea. And most of that was produced in Georgia, and with a little bit produced up near Sochi. But I think Ramos will be able to tell you exactly what proportion, but I think majority was Georgia. And there is still a little bit produced up near Sochi, but it's very, very small. And in Georgia, the production has gone right down, and they are now concentrating on I mean, I hate to say, sort of trying to produce speciality teas.
In Georgia, there is maybe around 30, 40 small farmers who trying to refresh the industry and to make a new type of teas, which they of course they are selling not only inside Georgia but generally outside, because Georgia has not so high the big population and not drinking too much tea inside. But it was a very good institute of tea which is now in Georgia, and the people was there who create a new technologies, and which is used at the moment even in China, in Vietnam, in other tea growing countries also, because it was really let me say very serious investment that time, and of course time is going. It's not stopping. Many things is changed also in scientific researches, and we need to think what to do at the moment in these areas also, and we're trying to also use the knowledge which the Georgians scientists has at the moment. Some of them are still in Georgia, and maybe we also try to use that the interesting things which they create in the past, but it's not used at the moment in real productions and the real industry. But maybe we will also take some of these interesting investigations and researches and incorporate in the new way in the industry. So it is very interesting things which is also need to be fixed, that Soviet scientists in tea was very, very let me say great people.
It's interesting what you say, Ramaz, because one of the things I think we have started over here in the UK is planting some more tea in the British Isles. And I think some of the clones developed in, some of the cultivars developed in Georgia have been probably the most suitable for planting over here. We're being a little hardier and more tolerant of this sort of climate. So it's interesting how that investment and that hard work in the Caucasus has sort of been translated into our nascent industry in the UK.
So Ramaz, just to take a slightly different tack for a moment, I notice your beautiful t-shirt and which says Tea Masters Cup. We've certainly got a winner of one of the legs of the Tea Masters Cup in one of our other podcasts. I wonder, could you just tell us what Tea Masters Cup is?
Tea Masters Cup at the moment is, I think, most known competition because it's around 27 at the moment. We are despite all the pandemic, we have the negotiations with some countries, which is coming a member of this movement. So 27 countries are the member of this movement at the moment. We established these rules, we established this system, unified system, which is possible. And we have, as you know, Tea Masters Cup is just umbrella name of 4 different competitions inside, independent competitions. It's tea preparation competitions, it's tea pairing competitions, tea mixology competition, and tea testing competitions. And different, and each people, people can choose in which category they can compete to others. And this giving us chance to collect different specialists, because tea testers, they are going to tea testing competitions and they are working in the different tea companies who using the tea testers. So the tea preparation for tea rooms, tea mixology for tea for bars where the people using as one of the element the tea as a part of the cocktails, and tea pairing is for the places where tea is coming with some foods, and it's very interesting combination between tea taste and aroma and some foods, which is good to have it together. So different people gathering together, then we collect these people and grow the community of such a people, and then this community become a channel of direct channel of communication with the consumer.
Fantastic achievement to bring together 27 countries and join, create so many ambassadors for tea, which is absolutely wonderful. And a small advert for people who love tea in the UK. We will be finally, after the pandemic is lifted, launching the UK leg of the Tea Masters Cup competition, and you can go to tea.co.uk to find out more about that. So we'll hopefully have some representatives at this world competition in 2022, which is really exciting. I'm afraid to say we've completely run out of time. I'm sure we could talk all afternoon about tea, but I think we need to draw to close today's discussion. I don't know if Will or Ian, you have any final words that you want to say before we close the recording?
Just to thank Ramaz and Ian for their wholehearted participation. It's lovely to get the enthusiasm and see tea in a global perspective.
I look forward to the Tea Masters Cup next year, and I look forward to meeting up with you all again. And thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I think it's very exciting, and I look forward to hearing all your different podcasts.
Well, Will, Ian and Ramaz, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast, which is part of the Around the World in 80 Teas series. Thank you for listening.